Good afternoon and welcome back to DR Sports for your weekend roundup show. Game week 25 was another belter in the Premier League. Before we get into the show and look at all the 9 games that have happened across the weekend, remember to like, comment with your thoughts on this weekend's fixtures, and of course subscribe to DR Sports if you haven't already. Very close to 200k and we need your help to get there. So please get involved in the comments and let us know what you think. Of course, this is a live show. I have got 4 great guests joining me to talk about all the games this weekend, and I'm going to be reading out your comments as well, so please do get them in. Let's start off where the game started off this weekend, and that was at Old Trafford, the earliest kickoff on Saturday. Manchester United versus Southampton. It was 1-1, 2 points dropped again for Manchester United. Let's bring in my first guest to talk about this game and then his own game after, which was Newcastle Everton. Of course, it's the one and only Newcastle Aston Villa, I should say. It's the one and only Matty Renton. How are we, fella?
Yes, mate. Big up everyone, what you're saying?
Good, mate. Have you just rolled out of bed, or is that your kind of Monday attire?
This is a Borge number, mate. Going for the teddy bear look. Yeah. Post-selector. Do you know what I mean?
Post-selector, indeed. Absolutely.
Smoothie settings as well, mate. Got a little smoothie. Sorting the hangover out after that celebration yesterday. Thank you. Which we will talk about.
Lots of stuff, good stuff to talk about when it comes to Newcastle. You were at the game yesterday, so we will get into that. But let's start off with Manchester United. They have averaged fewer goals per game under Ralph Rangnick than they have under any other manager in Premier League history. Yes, he's only been there a couple of months, but that's some stat to come out of it. Southampton have now scored and conceded in 8 consecutive Premier League games for the first time in the history of the competition. A good week for Southampton, a poor one indeed for Manchester United. They take on Brighton tomorrow night at Old Trafford. This is suddenly a massive game for them, Matty, after their last 2 results. How do you see this one going? Because we've seen Brighton can get results now.
I see Man United taking the lead and then Man United losing the game in the second half. To be honest, Alex, we see it week in, week out now. It's deja vu watching Man United. They seem to start games well and then they just come out second half uninterested, gone, game over. There's serious problems at Man United, mind. Absolutely in the mud. No matter what lineup they pick, no matter who's on the pitch, there's bigger issues at that club from top to bottom, and the players' mentality just isn't there. It's incredible the fall they have had and how bad they are. Like, I don't know how they didn't lose that game against Southampton. If Southampton could finish, that would have been 3 or 4-1 Southampton. Dominated at Old Trafford.
Yeah, 4 points dropped in a week for United. Definitely not one to remember from them. They've obviously got Champions League again coming up next week. Where do you see this season ending for Man United? Because let's face it, if you can't beat the Southamptons at home, obviously Southampton are on a good run at the minute, but if you're not putting away these teams at home, drawing away to Burnley as well on Monday, what's the best that they can hope for this season, United?
Mate, I hope they get in the Conference League, mate. I want to see, but I tipped them for top 4 all season, but I think they're just going to fall short. I'd probably envisage Arsenal getting there now, to be honest, after what I've seen in recent weeks, because like you say, if they can't win those games that were certainly at Old Trafford over the years against the likes of Southampton, then where are they going to pick their points? So for me, I can't see them going away from home to tough places and getting no points, especially when other teams have got big things to play for as well. You know, I wouldn't even fancy them going to relegation battling sites, to be honest with you. So I don't know, I would probably say 6 or 7. I see them finishing
6th or 7th. When we look back, what a mighty fall it's been. I saw the Rooney documentary last night and he was talking about what's happened at the club since Fergie left. It's not been a great period in their history. And when you buy and you spend the money that they have, you look at Sancho, Varane, Ronaldo, bringing him back, there's too much pressure on them now to not be successful, surely.
There is. I mean, look at the expectations before the season. There was plenty of pundits and players and ex-pros saying Man United are going to win the league with Ronaldo. They've got the full package. They've got Sancho coming in. They've got Rafael Varane at centre-back. On paper, it looks like an perfect side, really, when players are fit and firing, but that's the issue. Everyone was caught up in the CR7 hype of times gone by. He's not the guy anymore. He's not the same guy. Probably more detrimental to the team than he is without him. And they just can't get it firing. They've got no stability there whatsoever. Like chop and change in the manager this season, we've seen no change at all. Bringing in Ralph, who's a sporting director, he's clearly someone from upstairs. You know, he hasn't coached in years. Past it, and Man United are past it. Man United are turned into an unrecognisable team.
Yeah, we've got some funny comments coming in here. Justin DeVito simply puts Man United lol. Ilyas Ibrahim says United in the mud. Fabinho has scored 5 goals this year so far in 2022. Ronaldo 0, so he's outscoring him. Not looking good for Manchester United right now. Big up to Beniko, who's showing some love for myself. All the way from South Africa. Big up to you, mate, and obviously everyone else in the comments. We've got King Maestro live from Jamaica. Big up to Ilyas Ibrahim, who also calls me the best host in the world. Not my words, his. So let's move on though quickly to Newcastle. You were at the game last night. Unbelievable result for Newcastle. 3 wins in a row now. Only 2 wins in 9 now for Stevie G's Aston Villa. Maybe the wedding kind of honeymoon period is over. I mean, you've won 3 games in a row now for the first time since November 2018 under Rafa Benitez. A great win for Newcastle, who seem to be finally, Matty, picking up a bit of momentum. But as soon as that happens, the man who scores 2 goals in 2 games for you, out for 6 weeks, we're hearing, Matty.
Yeah, it's a devastating blow to wake up to on this Monday morning, like, isn't it? Because it's not even just the free kicks that Trippier's brought to this team. It's just his overall character, his leadership on the pitch, his communication skills, his calmness in defence. He's completely transformed us. Unbelievable signing. And now it's looking like he's going to be out for 2 months with a broken metatarsal. So massive, massive blow. But we'll try and stay on the positive side of things. Like you said, they're 3 wins in a row for Newcastle. 4 points clear of the relegation zone with a game in hand on 18th base Watford. So it's looking a lot prettier than it was this time last month for sure. Yesterday, huge result, big result. Wasn't a classic, wasn't a great game of football to watch. It was like the Super Bowl, mate. Like, Super Bowl came early. It was so stop-start, that game. Stop-start all the time. Injuries left, right and centre. But we got over the line, and that's the most important thing. Neither keeper was really tested, and we got the vital win, which was huge.
Are we now going to see a bit more of a run in the team for your boy Bruno Guimaraes? He's made a couple of cameo appearances. Yes, the manager doesn't want to rush him into these games. We all know about the pace and the aggression in the Premier League. But is he now ready to kind of start every week for you guys now?
Well, Eddie Howe was saying in the press conference he is ready, he's fit, he's raring to go. And we've seen an impact as soon as he's came on the pitch. Even if it's been for a few minutes, he's set up a chance, he's made some important touches, he's made some disruptions in the middle of the park, winning the ball back. But you can't get in because that midfield 3 has been brilliant the last couple of weeks. You know, the old classic don't change a winning formula. I think we'd be risking it to change up that midfield at the minute. With Joe Willock finally coming into some good form, Shelby playing the best of his career, Joe Linton, there is that midfield maestro. I mean, the midfield, Pat Linton, I'm calling him that. Pat Linton, you know, modern day Patrick Vieira. Yeah. He's unbelievable, mate, on fire. He's got more important tackles and touches in the middle of the park than anybody else in the Premier League, and he's not even a midfielder. So big up Eddie Howe for that transformation. So at the minute, Bruno can't get in, but when he does, it'll be great to see, like, because he looks like a serious player.
Great comment here from Ilyas Ibrahim, who says Newcastle are staying up. They are playing well if they can keep their run. That's what it's all about. It's about the consistency here. You don't want to see a flash in the pan, 3 wins here, but then you falter later on in the season, because we're approaching the business end now. There's only about 13 games to go and time is ticking. Obviously the 3 wins in a row are huge, but can you kick on from this?
I think we can. I mean, the next game is a massive game away to West Ham, Saturday lunchtime. West Ham, watched them yesterday against Leicester. I think they could be at it as well. There's a lot of controversy and drama surrounding the club at the minute. Maybe we can capitalise on that. The lads will be full of confidence after the run that they've been on, heading to West Ham. So even a point would be decent. I'd take that point away from home and then move from there. I think it's Brighton at home after that. And then, you know, we've got some tricky games coming up after that, maybe like Chelsea away. So it's important that we do well in the next couple of weeks, carry on this momentum. Let's hope we can fill in for Kieran Trippier though, because he will be a massive blow. But I think we're heading in the right direction now. I think we can hopefully start looking up the table instead of over our shoulder.
Nice. And you, of course, are on the Saturday Football Show on DR Sports on Saturday, so we'll be seeing a lot more of you then. Just quickly before you go, Brentford Crystal Palace 0-0. Brentford ended a run of 5 straight defeats and registered a clean sheet for the first time in 12 top-flight games. Palace now have just won 2 of the last 13 Premier League games, drawing 5, losing 6, and are winless in the last 5 since a 3-0 victory over Norwich in December. It leaves Crystal Palace now in 13th. No wins in 5 for them, 26 points. Can they be dragged into this? Because if they had have won that, it would have been against a team who are right underneath them, but they couldn't take that advantage there.
Yeah, I kind of see. You look at Brentford and the fall from the start of the season, where Tony was in a bit of good form. Now he's got controversy over him over that clip of him on holiday during the break. Brentford are going to get dragged right into this. They're going to get dragged right into this because their honeymoon period of coming into the Premier League is long gone now. They got off to a great start, beating Arsenal and all that, first 5-6 games, but they're winless in 6 now, isn't it? 5 losses, 1 draw. They're going to get sucked into it. You look at their team on paper. No disrespect to Brentford. I think it's great seeing them in the league. But the team on paper, I don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's Premier League quality. Thomas Frankie's an interesting coach. Got something about him. But for me, that's one to keep an eye on, like Brentford getting sucked right into the battle.
Yeah, Joe Tom agrees with you, saying Brentford will get dragged in. Ibrahim also saying Brentford are maybe in danger of getting relegated, which is kind of what people maybe presumed at the start of the season, but after such a good start, maybe slipped away a little bit there. Matty, we're going to say goodbye to you. We're going to say hello to you again on Saturday. Thank you for your thoughts today, and go and cure that hangover, mate. Big win for Newcastle yesterday against
Cheers, mate. Pleasure.
See you soon. Take care. Right, we're going to introduce another guest very shortly, so lock in for that. It is going to be an Everton fan. You've seen him on the channel before, Mike from Blue Boys TV. A big win for them against Leeds over the weekend. Here's a question for myself, and Matty could have answered it if he was still on. But Ali A asks, Alex and Matty, who is better at free kicks, Trent or Trippier? Big question that, and it deserves a fair answer. Yes, Trippier has scored. Well, you look at that free kick for England in the World Cup semi-final on such a big stage, a great goal. But really, apart from the last 2, yes, he scored 2 in 2 big free kicks to win the games for Newcastle in the last 2 weeks. Trent's been doing this consistently, I would say, since 2017. So that's what I'm going to go for just about. Let us know in the comments, though, what you think. Who's the better free kick taker? Is it Trent or is it Trippier? So that's very interesting. Big up to Adicho, says, that green jacket is so good. Thank you very much. I do like a bit of green. I was wearing green on Saturday as well on this channel, actually. So maybe I might make it a little habit. Katie Hall says, big up Matty, great guy. Yes, Katie, he will be back on the show on Saturday. So make sure you're tuned in for that one, the Saturday football show. Jack Campbell going, Trippier, free kicks are clear. Champions of Europe ×6, says Trent all day. We've got 2 more for Trippier. We've got one for Ward-Prowse, by the way. What a free kick taker he is. Let's have it right. Maybe even the best ever in the Premier League era. I think he scored 12 free kicks for Southampton in his time in the Premier League. I think David Beckham only more with 13. So he's pushing DB, the mighty free kick taker, all the way for that top spot. So excellent to see him kind of pop up, and his last one in particular, what a strike it was. It was a knuckleball kind of 40-yarder straight in the top bins. Unbelievable strike that was. Yeah, Joe Tom Reed saying Ward-Prowse beats both of them. We are going to be speaking very shortly to Mike from the Blue Boys TV, but just before we do speak about Everton's big win, we'll read out a couple more of your comments. ISG asking, can Everton finish above Newcastle? Maybe it would have been good to have both Matty and Mike on, which I'm sure will happen. But that's a good question that I'll be asking him for sure. Ward-Prowse better than both, says Eniola for sure. And Beniko Singh saying, if Suarez consistently took free kicks throughout his career, I feel like he could have easily gotten the record for free kicks. There you go. Very interesting. Right. Let's bring in our second guest of the weekend roundup. Again, another man who's also very happy with how his team performed at the weekend. It's Mike from Blue Boys Network. How are we doing, fella?
Yeah, all good, AGT. How are you? You right?
Not bad at all. Very good, mate. Let's speak straight into it then about the Goodison Park win at the weekend. Everton boss Lampard kick-started his tenure off at Goodison Park with his first league win as Leeds were swept aside 3-0 on Saturday. Everton scored twice before half-time for only the first time in 40 Premier League games, Mike. Last doing so last year against Leeds at Ellen Road. And Leeds now have conceded 46 goals in the Premier League this season, with no side shipping more in the competition so far this term. Couple of stats for you there. A great start at Goodison for Lampard. Will they be able to kick on from this?
I think we've got to. I think an overriding theme aware of what Everton fans, myself included, we've been worried that actually we could be in serious trouble about going down. We've got very, very difficult last 10 fixtures of the season. So, it was imperative that we started off the Lampard campaign at home in a bit of style, really, getting a positive result. We'd had that negative result against Newcastle midweek. The players looked like they weren't up for it. So we needed to put a performance in. The fans were fantastic. The atmosphere was amazing. And we managed to, get them 2 early goals and ride out the second half and make it comfortable in the end 3-0. But massive win for us. Massive, massive, massive.
Let's talk about how Van der Beek played. Some stats coming out after the game that he had the most touches, the most passes, the most tackles, most chances created. Are we now finally seeing the player that maybe we saw at Ajax under Frank Lampard at Everton? Yes, it's early days, Mike, but a good start.
Yeah, of course, and it's about confidence, isn't it? Any footballer loves a bit of confidence. He's been given the opportunity to start a game of football and get minutes, and he was imperious in the middle of the park for Everton. He did everything right. His passing was fantastic. His ability to pop in between the lines was great, and it was a really positive home debut for Donny van der Beek, and the Everton fans, rightly so, really got behind him. He got man of the match from the official Everton page, and it has to continue. There was a lot of Man United fans, Saeed included, we both know, who was fuming about it. So it's always worth that, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. A couple players that were maybe slightly criticised, definitely under the last manager, Michael Keane and Iwobi. Both had good games. I saw you tweet about Iwobi too. I mean, is with Lampard coming in, does it give every single player in that squad a fresh slate to start anew?
I think not just Lampard, but I think any manager does it. I mean, you know yourself with Klopp. He had a massive job to rebuild Liverpool, and look what he did to those players. And Lampard's got to do the same with Everton. He's got to make sure that those players get into his ideology. He likes to play attacking football, and that means players like Michael Keane, like Alex Iwobi, have got to show that they're good enough to do it, because we all know Michael Keane isn't the best defender. That isn't a criticism of his, but when you're comparing him against where Everton would like to be in the league, he doesn't get in those sides. And that's the same with Alex Iwobi. But it was really positive that in a must-win game, they both stood up and got counted, and they deserve the credit. Michael Keane with a bullet header, good defending. Iwobi was absolutely possessed. I was calling it Iwobinho by the end of it, for all the Arsenal.
All right, Mike, no need to get carried away.
Yeah, you do. But, it was just a really positive start for those two players that have probably needed it. And there was more players. Seamus Coleman's been poor for a long time. He had a phenomenal game as well. John Joe Kenny played left back, was brilliant. The whole team stood up, was counted for, and the fans really, really got behind that.
And Lampard reacted as well to the fans singing Super Frankie Lampard at the end. He got a bit of a buzz out of that. In true Lampard fashion, he was very much like, oh no, it was a good performance and great to hear the fans, but no, seriously, we have got a lot of work to do and it's going to be a very tough season.
Mr. Positive to Mr. Negative in one sentence.
Yeah. No, but a good start for Lampard and a great result for Everton. A couple of comments coming in. Ice G says Anthony Gordon, fantastic. The youngster, I actually know someone who went to school with him up in Liverpool, and they say he's got a very bright future ahead of him. Great start for Everton, says Ilias. Everton got scammed. 30 million for Iwobi from Arsenal, says YMI. Obviously paying off that ever so slightly now. Let's move on to another game. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Again, yesterday, the last game of the weekend, Leicester 2, West Ham 2. So Jared Bowen this season, he's actually been involved in 16 Premier League goals, 8 goals, 8 assists. Only Salah has more. So that's some kind of going there. And now Leicester, bless them, are winless in 4 Premier League games, their longest joint run in the competition under Brendan Rodgers. Another blow for them at home, obviously conceding very, very late on to a Michael Dawson goal yesterday after their recent one against Spurs. They've ended up losing again. Mike, this point keeps West Ham in the top 4. The teams below them having games in hand. Arsenal have 3, obviously. West Ham have 2. Where do you see West Ham finishing this season, Mike?
Well, first and foremost, I think David Moyes, to have done what he did last season with West Ham, to do it this season as well is phenomenal. So West Ham deserve loads of credit. For me, there's no reason why West Ham can't finish 6th. I think I don't think the top four is quite in reach this season. I do think that up until this week, Spurs had looked strong. I think Arsenal do look strong. I think there's teams that will just pick them to the post, very similar to last season. Manchester United are out of it currently, but they'll push their way back in, I'm sure. For West Ham, Europa League football, again, something to build on. Again, I think that's a phenomenal season. Jared Bowen, as you rightly say, has been absolutely incredible this season. Coming from where he started at Hull, loads of Premier League teams were sniffing around him. West Ham took the chance with him, and he's turning into a real Premier League go-to. I don't think it'll be long before you do see the, no disrespect to West Ham, but the teams that are in the Champions League taking a look at Jared Bowen because he's got it all. He's got pace, he's got power, he can beat a man, he can finish, he can pass, he's got an assist chest. And for Leicester, Brendan Rodgers, I think, is under serious scrutiny at the minute. It would not surprise me if he's one of the next managers to be sacked.
Interesting times there for Leicester. Mike, thank you so much for coming on. Everton, big win at the weekend. Can they carry it on? That's the big question always about Everton. Thanks for joining us, mate, and we'll definitely see you soon.
No worries at all, mate. Thanks so much for having me on as always, and I will see you soon, bud.
Absolutely, bro. Take care. Couple of comments here from ISG says, would Bowen stay at West Ham in the summer transfer window? Very interesting question. Liverpool were linked with him last summer. We do have Tapping Tobes, I should say, coming on next to talk about Tottenham's awful home run at the minute. 3 home games on the bounce for Tottenham. The first time that's actually happened under Antonio Conte since 2009. So unbelievably bad run there for Tottenham. And we will be speaking about how Toby feels about Dele Alli leaving and going to Everton and then winning yesterday. Rodgers might get sacked, says Ilyas Ibrahim. Real Madrid versus PSG suggestions. We'll get onto that. It's another show for sure. But yeah, great comments coming in. Arnav saying Leicester are the biggest bottlers, even bigger than Spurs. And I think if you look at the last few games, you can clearly see that Leicester have thrown away Leeds, draws, got battered by Liverpool as well, obviously, who we will speak about. I know you guys know me as a Liverpool fan as well, so we will be getting into Liverpool winning away at Burnley yesterday. We are also speaking to Robbie as well. We're going to get his thoughts on how Arsenal are looking as they enter the top 4 race as it finally heats up in the last part of the season. Let's go quickly and talk about the game yesterday at Carrow Park. Norwich losing again to Man City. Raheem Sterling becoming the 3rd City player to score a perfect hat-trick in the Premier League after Dzeko and Aguero, who did it twice. Norwich have now conceded 50 goals in 24 games in the Prem this season. Another win for Man City. How does that affect the title race? Another loss for Norwich, who, let's be honest, they're going down. The game went kind of everyone as expected. And Liverpool are obviously chasing Man City very, very relentlessly. Let's see if we can bring in Tapping Tobes now to talk about specifically the Tottenham performance. I've seen him almost melting down yesterday on social media. There was a lot of heads in hands. There was a lot of questions asked about what's going on. Is it Tottenham to blame? Is it the players? Is it the manager? Who knows? Let's bring him in now. Tapping Tobes, how are we, fella?
I'm good, man. Well, no, I'm not good.
You're not good, are you?
Strong, yeah.
You look really hurt this morning, man. Really hurt. I've never seen you this sad before.
Mate, it's frustrating because when you have such an elite manager at your club, when you've been by some random occurrence, you've been able to strike gold in the managerial appointment, and you see your club being let down by the same issues that have plagued 3 managers before him. It's just, I'm reaching the end of my tether, bro. I can't do it anymore with some of these players and with the hierarchy behind the scenes. I can't do it anymore.
Right, well, we'll get into that specifically a little bit later on, but Spurs have now, like I said, lost 3 games for the 2nd time in a row in the Premier League in one season, also in September 2021 under Nuno, the last manager, but now Wolves have won each of the last 4 away games in the Premier League, which is their longest run in the top flight since April 1980. That was a massive result in the race for the top 4, Tobes, with Wolves now going ahead of Spurs in the table. I mean, that can't be happening.
Yeah, you're right. It can't be happening. We're a side that a lot of people are tipping to try and finish into the top four. Before the week, at this stage last week, we were heading into the week just having seen off Brighton, who by all accounts are just as good a side as Wolves, better side than Southampton. We brushed Brighton aside at home, convincing result, and we were heading into the week with a couple games in hand over the teams above us to actually try and see if we can sort of stamp our claim for this supposed top four race. But what you've seen unfold is the same nonsense that you've seen unfold in recent seasons, which is what ultimately stopped Spurs from getting to coveted spots as the fourth spot, because fundamentally we're not good enough. We don't have the players to sustain the consistency required to finish in the top four. And my thing is, I think at times our fans can get a bit trigger happy. They really can, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's the players' fault, because these players, they're good at what they do. They'll fool you into thinking that they could potentially turn a corner, and then they'll just revert back to old
Talk to me about some of these players that you mentioned then. Let's name some names, because in the team yesterday there were some names that have maybe been around for 1 or 2 seasons too long. There's some new names as well. Who is to blame for the downturn in form here?
Majority of them. So I'll give you one, Davinson Sanchez. By all accounts, up until the last week and a half or so, he's probably been one of our most informed defenders, you would say. Probably throughout December and early part of January, you'd probably say he's one of our most informed defenders. But Davinson Sanchez is a poor centre-back. The majority of Spurs fans, if not all Spurs fans, know they can't hang their hat on a player like Davinson Sanchez, because he is capable of just throwing the game. And you saw that against Southampton, chaotic performance. You saw that yesterday, chaotic performance. I look at players like Ben Davies, who was deemed not good enough when we were at our best under Pochettino, and now he's starting for us week in, week out. Yeah, I look at our captain, Lloris. I've got a lot of time for Lloris. I was backing his new contract, and I still do. He's been quality for us this season. Lloris has been our top 3 best players, but the fact that we know that Lloris is due a disaster class at least once or twice a season in a game that will cost us big is not good enough. And then I look at players like Harry Winks. He's been in and out of this team. When are we going to get it through our heads that this guy's not good enough to do what we need him to do? Lucas Moura still starting games for Spurs in 2022, despite not scoring more than 5 league goals in a single season over the past like 2 or 3 years. How many times are we going to keep going round and round in circles with these same players and expecting different results? Is that not what they say? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. What do we expect? This is why I said to Robbie in the Arsenal Fan TV show a couple of days back, this was before we even played Southampton and Wolves. I said Spurs aren't going to get top 4 because I don't have the confidence in these players. They let us down last season. They let us down the season before. The only difference now is there's a better manager who actually gets us fighting harder for top 4 than we have done in recent years. But that's not a foregone conclusion that he's going to get it.
Ali A in the comments ask, how many players do you need really to turn this around? Which is interesting, because you've just bought some players, some players with big potential, and you've just sold some players that you maybe only bought a year ago. So what do Tottenham need? Is it players? Is it because, like you said, somehow you've landed on the golden ticket of managing to convince Antonio Conte to come to the club, right? You've got that. It can't be the manager, because the manager's proven. So what do Tottenham need now?
A complete overhaul of the squad, man. We keep hearing that Spurs are due this rebuild. We always hear about this rebuild, but we've not seen it evidenced. We've not seen it evidenced, and I don't just mean outgoing players. Yeah, I don't just mean outgoing players, because I look at the team now. We have shifted some dead. We got rid in the last like 12 months. We've got rid of Alderweireld, Lamela, Sissoko, Ndombele, Lo Celso. I'm trying to remember other players as well. We've got rid of him. Dele Alli, we've got rid of him. So they're shifting some of the deadwood at the club, but because of the state that they let the club get to, there is so much work to be done. People underestimate how poor our squad is. We don't have a good side. We have so many poor players, and the issue is that this club has this unique ability to reward mediocrity, and I don't understand it. There are players that have reached their sell-by date and they're still here. Those players that I mentioned to you now, they've been here and they've been screwing up for years, and the club still don't want to move them on.
Interesting. What are your best hopes then for the rest of the season? What can you expect in the best case? Let's say it's the best case scenario, not the worst.
Best case scenario: Spurs finish fifth and reach maybe the semi-finals of the FA Cup or something. Man, that's the best case scenario. I don't believe this team are going to get top four. I've said that start of the season. I said that when Conte got appointed. I'm saying it now. Whether we're playing good, whether we're playing bad, we don't have the players capable of getting us over the edge. We don't have it. Too many of these players they lack basic technical quality on the ball. They can't play under pressure, and mentally they crumble when the smallest bit of expectation gets put on them. When there was no pressure on Spurs to perform, they were getting some better results, more fluency in the performance. The minute we head into this week, knowing that 2 wins this week would have put us in pole position for fourth spot, they crumble.
So have you written off top four then? Is that just a far gone conclusion now?
And top four, listen, so Spurs are always going to be in the race for top four, yeah? Spurs are always, because of the manager we have and because of how ghastly the run is between all the sides, Man United, Arsenal, etc., etc. Spurs are always going to be in the race for top four between now and the end of the season, because it really only takes 2 wins or 2 losses to sort of put yourself in it or put yourself out of it. But I have never co-signed this notion that Spurs are favourites for top four, and I don't believe Spurs are going to get it. For me, top four, it's not happening. It's not happening this season.
Well, there you go. Big Tobe's not happy with Tottenham at the minute. A lot of people in the comments are also looking forward to the Big Six tonight, Tobes. Just to warn you, that could be a tough show for you tonight, my brother.
It's fine. I speak enough with Spurs. Tonight, I'm actually going to sit back, let them tear into Spurs. I've had enough of it, so it's cool. I'll take my punishment tonight.
Tapping Tobes has had enough. I do have to say a massive thank you for joining us, though. I know it's not in ideal circumstances, and hopefully see you very soon back on the show, mate.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Take care, Toby. Have a great day. Right, let's talk about the Liverpool result. A big 1-0 away win at Burnley yesterday. You've seen the fan cams and all the reaction from it, not only on the Cop TV, but also on Match of the Day last night, where I'd have to say, obviously not my channel, but it was a little bit of siding towards the argument of Liverpool were lucky. There was about 7 or 8 offsides that happened in the game as well, which happened because a high line is being played, and that's not really something that you can criticise. But big win that for Liverpool. I know my next guest is a person who loves talking about Liverpool. He's so happy when Liverpool win all the time, and he really enjoys it. He's a big fan. Let's bring him on. It's Mr. DR. It's Robbie himself. How are we doing?
How you doing?
I'm very well, Rob. It's good to have you on the show, as always. I was just saying there, you're always happy when Liverpool win, aren't you? And,
I heard you. Yeah.
He's definitely got a secret agenda.
Good win for Liverpool.
Yeah, well, that's what
Liverpool. Burnley's, as we found out as Arsenal fans, not an easy place. Well, we actually won there, but when they came to our place, a very difficult team to break down. So that was a good result for Liverpool, and the chase is still on, isn't it, for Liverpool?
Yeah, for sure. The title race is not over. For Burnley, though, Rob, it's looking bad. I mean, yes, they've tried to almost change the identity of their style by bringing in Cornet, who's actually had a really good season for them, maybe been their best player. You've seen Weghorst come in to replace Chris Wood. Doesn't just offer the big man up front, can do other bits. But they remain with just 1 win in the Premier League this season out of 21 games, drawing 11, losing 9. The first top-flight side to have a maximum of 1 victory after 21 matches since Derby County in 07-08, Rob, and that was a disastrous season for Derby, actually. Liverpool now, though, as you mentioned, 9 points behind City, game in hand, still need to go to the Etihad. Do you think the title race is totally over, or is there a little gap that Liverpool can just keep relentlessly applying pressure in?
Gives a little glimmer for Liverpool, a little glimmer. They've got to keep winning. They've got to hope that City maybe slip up somewhere, and then when they go to play City, they have to win that game. So there's a glimmer, but it's all on Liverpool just being relentless and keep winning every game. I like Liverpool's squad. You know what I mean? I saw where Klopp said he's got the best squad he's ever had, or people have been saying that, and I think he has. So they've got a chance, but City are just relentless. I just can't see them catching City, but they've got a glimmer of a hope. And going back on Burnley, terrible, shocking record for Burnley, but I would say they've still got those games in hand. And if you look at some of the games they've had recently, I mean, they had us. Yeah. They've had Liverpool. They've had Manchester United. You know what I mean? They've had a really tough run of games. Where they're going to be able to pick it up is when they're playing some of the teams in and around them, particularly when they're playing those teams at home. But it's a real tough one for Burnley this, because I think the Newcastle going out and spending the money that they did, bringing the players in, although I'm hearing now that Trippier could be out, and that's going to be a massive blow for Newcastle. But that's definitely revitalised Newcastle, and it's a big problem now for all of those teams below them. I think Newcastle, they're looking good, especially at St James's.
Yeah, we just had Matty Renton on, absolutely buzzing. He was at the game yesterday. Big injury for them, Trippier now being out. But yeah, let's move on to another game that happened over the weekend. By the way, we have done a poll in the chat for you to get your questions into the Don. All right, so I will read some of them out. Make sure they're good ones, though. Watford losing at home to Brighton, Robbie. This was a bit of a surprise. Watford have lost 6 consecutive home games now for the first time since October 1990, a run which also coincidentally included a defeat to Brighton. Watford now in 19th, Robbie. I mean, they started off the season, they weren't people's favourites to go down, but when you're 19th, only a point more than Burnley, it's not looking good. I mean, where do you see their chances of staying up now?
I think they're gone. I really do. I don't see that they've got the players to stay up. Their gamble of changing managers and hopefully that will get them out of the situation is probably coming to an end this time. You know what I mean? Too many chopping and changing. Yeah, what's this? 3 managers this season. Yeah. And then they bring in Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson, all right, he'll be good at getting you organised and, conceding less goals, but is he going to win you games? They need to win games right now. They're past that part of just, a point here and a point there. That's no good for them now. They need wins, and Roy Hodgson's not going to bring that. I think Watford, they're gone. I think their owners, they need this just changing managers every second is getting ridiculous now. Choose a guy and stick with him for a bit. Even as soon as things go bad at Watford, they just press the trigger. And all right, you can argue that over the years that's got them through, but maybe that's coming to an end now. I can't see Watford staying up. Even in years gone by, they've had certain characters like Troy Deeney. Those sort of guys, those leaders who can get you over the line. They don't really have that now. They don't really have that character. So I think they're gone.
Yeah, just above them as well, who it's also not looking good for, is Norwich. A big home defeat for them to Man City. We kind of expected it, if we're honest, Rob. Yeah. It was a good fight up until the first couple of goals went in. But Norwich
have been doing a lot better than some of the teams down there. And Norwich, listen, we're not expecting them to beat Man City, are we? So they can't. They just have to ignore that result at the weekend and try. They have been on a little bit of a good run. They've let themselves much to do, but their hope will be that they can drag, keep winning a few games and drag some of those other teams, Everton and those sort of teams, into the whole thing. So they're not gone yet, I don't think. I think they will go, because I just think that they've left this run a bit too late. But we didn't expect them to beat Man City. Come on,
of course.
that was always going to be an L, weren't it?
Of course. Right, well, let's look at the other end of the table. Again, let us know in the comments if you think those three teams that are currently in the relegation zones are going down. Huge 9 points in the last 3 games for Newcastle. But let's talk about Arsenal, Robbie, because all of a sudden, everyone else around you is drawing, they're losing. All of a sudden, with 3 games in hand, it looks like Arsenal are the favourites and in the driving seat to get this top 4 spot. Is that what you think, or are you a bit more cautious? I know you don't like to run away with things.
Yeah, you have to be cautious because, listen, there's still a lot of games left to go. But it was a great weekend, a great week for Arsenal. I was a bit worried because Arsenal, at the moment, real lack of games. We have a game this weekend because we're supposed to play Chelsea and they were in that World Club Cup, right? And then we didn't have a game, we had our game during the week and I was like, that's a tough game away at Wolves. Now we got the 3 points there. That was absolutely massive. Massive 3 points winning away there. And then we were hoping, going into this weekend that even one of those teams dropped points. As it turned out, everybody in that top 4 race, apart from Wolves.
Apart from Wolves, you have to count them, yeah.
All of the sort of main teams dropped points. Man United surprisingly dropped points at home against Southampton. West Ham, got that goal was so dodgy they got in the last minute, but they dropped 2 points. They only got a point out of that game. And of course, Tottenham losing at home to Wolves as well. They've dropped points. So it's been a good weekend. It's been a good weekend here for Arsenal. Good week for Arsenal. Big win, and all the other teams around them faltering. And then when I look at, we've got Brentford next weekend at home. There's no easy games in the Premier League, but Brentford are another team that's struggling. It's not the Brentfords from the start of the season where, now they've been playing in the league. It's going to be a lot more difficult for them. And I think the fact that Arsenal have got this rest now, they've just got one game every week. They haven't, because the thing I'd be worried about is if we were going into the end of this season and we had the European football. We don't have that. We don't have European football. We don't have the FA Cup. Our focus is on one thing, and that is trying to get into the top 4. Whereas you look at the teams around us, West Ham, they've got Europa League coming back. Is their squad going to be able to cope with that? Manchester United have got the Champions League. Tottenham are still in the FA Cup. So Arsenal and Wolves, those 2 teams, that all they've got to concentrate on is the Premier League and is that target of trying to get that 4th place. And I think that plays into Arsenal's hands, but we're going to have to be consistent. And we've seen that Arsenal haven't been consistent. But again, we were doing a show on it last night on AFTV, and we was, the point I was making is that even if you look back in that January, when Arsenal were really bad and we didn't win a game in that month. But we had so many players missing. I think people forget that. We didn't even have a midfield. We had to play literally the whole month with just Sambi Lokonga because Xhaka was out for 3 games. Partey was at the African Cup of Nations. El Neni was away. All of those players are back now. He's literally got everyone at his disposal apart from Tomiyasu. And I really do think that that's going to help Arsenal. And certainly all the teams in and around that sort of top 4 fight really did Arsenal a favour at the weekend. It was, Arsenal fans were just kicking back with a beer in their hands, just watching all of them falter.
Yeah, Arsenal, can they get the top 4? This is the question that we've just asked you in the poll. 840 votes. Very, very interesting results here, guys. Arsenal, 69% of the people watching this right now think that Arsenal can get in the top 4. 15% for Manchester United, 12% for West Ham, and a poor 3% for Tottenham to get the top 4. So very interesting. If you asked that question at the start of the season, I guarantee you those answers would not have popped up. No one would have said 70% for Arsenal.
Yeah, and listen, the favourites should be Man United, really, because when you look at the team that they have, the squad that they have, what they have at their disposal. But I just look at United at the moment. It's not just that they're, that defeat at the weekend, but they're just not playing very well, are they? They just don't look cohesive. There's a lot of problems there, and they're going to have the load of the Champions League on them as well. Which, by the way, I do think they'll beat. I think they'll get through. I think they'll beat Atletico over 2 legs, but they've got that load upon them as well. And I don't know, United, they should be the favourites. They should be the favourites. But at this moment in time, as I said, with Arsenal, one game a week, you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Robbie's staying quietly confident. He doesn't want to go overboard.
We can certainly do with it. I'll tell you, I want to get back into the Champions League. I desperately want to get back in there, and to enable Arsenal to improve on the caliber of players that they're buying. You need to be in the Champions League. Why do you think that Diaz has gone to Liverpool and not gone to a team like Tottenham? Obviously Liverpool win things, but there's also the lure of playing in the Champions League. Guys like that don't want to be playing in the Conference League. They want to be playing in the Champions League.
Absolutely. A couple of questions for the Don himself just before we wrap up the show. This is something I wanted to ask you. A few pictures floating around last night of Arsenal owner Stan Kroenke celebrating winning the Super Bowl. I know you were invested in it. You had a Super Bowl special of Best of Enemies on Friday. What are your thoughts seeing that? Because there were some funny replies in the post that I saw about that.
Well, you know what? I watched the game, and I have to say it was a brilliant game. And I loved, as an old school hip hop fan, I loved the halftime.
Oh, what a show!
Entertainment, man, with Snoop and Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar is brilliant.
Eminem too.
But yeah, I didn't even know Stan Kroenke could talk, and you saw him at the end there, because it's very in the Super Bowl. If people haven't watched it, it's a lot different to, like, say, the Champions League or the FA Cup or the Premier League, where the captain goes and lifts the trophy. In the Super Bowl, it's actually the owner of the club who gets the trophy, and he lifts it first. Then he passes it on to, the captain and the quarterback and all those sort of, the head coach and stuff like that. So Stan Kroenke lifted the trophy and gave the victory speech. And, as Arsenal fans, you're looking at that and you're thinking, well, we want you to be doing the same sort of stuff, what you've done with the LA Rams, with Arsenal, because we spoke about it on the Best of Enemies on Friday, and we had Dre on, who was the sort of expert on American football, and what he basically said is that Stan Kroenke has gone all in on the LA Rams, built this unbelievable stadium. I mean, I hear people talk about Tottenham Stadium. If you've ever seen that stadium that Kroenke's built, £5 billion it costs. $5 billion, it costs. It's absolutely incredible. He's built an amazing team. He got all the, he sacrificed his draft picks. He brought in guys like Odell Beckham, Cooper Kupp, all these guys. He's a great team. And it was a really close game last night. Yeah. And it was his star players that got him over the line. So I'm looking at it now and I'm saying, well, hold on. Now you've won that. Are you going to, because one of the things Kroenke's always been accused of is that his franchises never win anything. And I don't like Arsenal being called a franchise, by the way, but I'm just saying it, right? So now that you've won that, you've won the Super Bowl, can you now roll that winning mentality out to Arsenal? Can you now start to go and get the same sort of caliber of players, like what you've done with the LA Rams at Arsenal, in bringing absolute quality to add to what we've got, and see if we can, bring some glory to London as well as it being in LA. But certainly, it was a great game, and I just, it was mixed emotions. To be honest, I know a lot of Arsenal fans wanted the Bengals to win. I didn't really care. All I want this guy to do is to put the same energy as what he puts into the Rams into Arsenal. If he does that, then maybe you might see Arsenal emerging again. And when I think about your owners, Alex, wasn't it a similar thing that they won? They've got the Red Sox. Is it the Red Sox?
Yeah, so it's Boston Red Sox, the Fenway Sports
World
Group,
Series, didn't they?
Won the World Series. So it's actually been a very couple of successful years for the FSG owners, and they've just about to buy another team as well. We've had Turkish in the comments, Robbie. Kroenke doesn't give a shit about Arsenal Soccer Club, he says, and the soccer club is the bit that he emphasises.
He's probably right. He's probably right, but I'm just saying, does this change his mentality? You know what I mean? I'm just curious, right? Because does this change his mentality? Because he's not had anything. He's never won anything as an owner, has he? He's not had any team win anything, and that's always one of the things that's been levelled at him. Does this now mean, as I said, does this now mean that he says, right, you know, that's complete. Now I want to get my soccer team to win something as well. I don't know. Listen, Turkish is probably right, but
he's made a couple of more comments.
Every Arsenal fan will be hoping now that puts a similar energy into, you know, Arsenal, because Arsenal are a huge club, and if you put the same sort of energy into that, get us challenging.
Well, Turkish then says, let me see him bring Mbappe to Arsenal. I don't care about this OBJ guy or the Rams. Salary cap and draft picks help so much in American sports that it's impossible to look at his American franchises and compare them to our situation / future.
I look a little differently on it, right? Because, you know, because the the draft pick thing evens things out a lot over there. And if you look at how he's gone about his he's sacrificed a lot of his draft picks to bring in a lot of superstar players so that he could get this done. Now, obviously, football's a lot different here. You know what I mean? You can't just go out and buy an Mbappe. But step number one is you have to be in the Champions League if you're going to attract anywhere near those type of players, right? So I just feel that, you know, listen, we're still miles off. If we could get into the Champions League by the end of the season, it'd be really interesting to see what Mr. Kroenke and his fellow cronies will do this summer.
Yeah.
Will they then turn around and say, right, we're back in the Champions League, now let's invest heavily? I mean, you know, he's trimmed the wage bill, he's got rid of so many high earners.
Gunnosaurus.
They've got rid of so many players, right? There's other players that are going to be leaving before the end of the season. It is going to be an interesting summer at Arsenal, but it'd be so much more interesting if we have Champions League football. You know, it's going to be a real interesting one.
Yes, it certainly will be. Again, keep letting us know as the season goes on. Will Arsenal get that top four? They've been missing Champions League for some time. This guy next to me has definitely been missing those European nights as well. Robbie, it's been a pleasure to have you on. This has been the Weekend Roundup, and I'm sure we'll speak to you next week.
No worries, man.
Take care. All the best. Don't cry too much about Kroenke's winnings. Right, bit cheeky from myself.
No, listen, I'm still chilled for the weekend, man. You know what I mean? Tottenham losing.
There you go.
That's all good.
When Tottenham lose, Robbie's smiling. There you go. Guys, it's been a great show. Massive thank you to Matty. We've had Tapping Tobes. We've had Mike and the Don himself. Big up to everyone else in the comments. That has been your Weekend Roundup. 9 great games in the Premier League. Manchester United, Brighton tomorrow as well. Can they change anything? It's not looking good for them. Liverpool keep the pressure on Manchester City. Southampton taking points off Man United. It's all happened this weekend. We'll see you again next week for more of the same on the Weekend Roundup. Remember, like, comment and subscribe to DR Sports. Take care.